Welcome back, everybody, to Testosterone Sports Week 11 in the NFL. And I'm joined here now by two guys with way too much man love. I am talking about my good friend Jesse, way too much man love for Tony Romo, and my good friend Zach, who's got way too much man love for Terrell Owens.
How can you not?
Guys, it's a great time to have you back.
You see him on David Letterman? He did top 10. Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, as the people that watch at home know, I'm a huge Cowboys rube. Ever since Bill Parcells took over down there, I've loved what the Cowboys have been doing. Tony Romo, I mean, I gotta be so excited. Not only do I have him in the tough league, and I'm finally gonna get to roll him out again, but this guy's kind of my idol. I mean, Jessica Alba, Jessica Biel, Jessica Simpson,
Carrie
and
Underwood.
Carrie
Did you see her
Underwood.
last night on the AMC Awards?
You watched the Country
Or
Music Awards?
CMC Awards.
Make sure to
I
stay
watched part of
tuned
it.
after the broadcast of this show for Zach breaking down all of your Hollywood entertainment news. He in his
Hillbilly
spare
style.
time, yeah, he gets it on with.
Honky tonk. No,
Right.
but I
I
mean,
watched it for the awards. I watched it for
It's going to
Carrie
be a very
and
interesting
Shania
game
Twain.
here. Against, we're going to talk about the Dallas at Washington game. It's going to be really interesting. Dallas finally getting Tony Romo back into the lineup. Guys, I'm not quite sure 100% what to think about this, but without Romo, they're a totally different team. I'm going to go to you first, Jesse. You're sporting the Romo jersey. Big Romo pimp from the beginning of the year.
Yep.
You called him fantasy's best quarterback. He proved you right until the infamous pinky. Is it that much that it's just him? Are they going to be that good when he comes back, or does he just need to stop sticking his finger up there?
well, you can't fault a guy for sticking his finger up there. I mean, you would too. I mean, I'd probably put 3 or 4 of them up there if they'd
Jesus.
fit. But you know, realistically,
Rated R.
once he gets back under center, I think it changes the entire dynamic of this offense. Just the threat of him being able to throw the ball down the field is going to open things up for Marion Barber, and it's going to make Terrell Owens much happier. I mean, T.O. was just biding his time and really biting his tongue to keep from blowing up and saying, what the hell, Brooks Bollinger? You got Brooks Bollinger in there? So yes, Jeff, I think Tony Romo makes an immediate impact. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as he was on a numbers tip beforehand. It may take him a game or two. But yeah, Dallas's offense is way better instantly.
I was calling out Marion Barber as a top 5 running back at the beginning of the season, and he was one of those at the beginning of the year. But it's been their passing game that's been kind of the story here. Marion Barber's value is going to go up right away, I think. But as far as Romo goes, when he's back under center, he's got a new wide receiver target in Roy Williams, who we'll be seeing for the very first time. What do you think, Zach, as the passing guy in this matchup? Do you think all the love's going to go to T.O., or will Roy Williams start to make an impact? And what's going on with Witten and the ribs?
Well, I think with Romo coming back, Roy Williams just adds another dynamic to this offense. And it's going to be a great thing for Terrell Owens. He's not going to get double teamed. He's going to be single covered, and he's going to be able to beat guys like he wants to. And he wants to be matched up one-on-one is what he wants to do, because he knows he can beat any cornerback in the league. And with Roy Williams, there was a very capable wide receiver in his own mind. They're both going to be, single covered, so neither are going to be double covered, and it's going to open it up for Jason Witten down the middle of the field. And I think the biggest thing with Romo coming back, Jesse said it, they're going to be able to throw downfield. It's going to keep their offense on the field, and it's going to keep their defense, which has been struggling, off the field. And I think one of the main reasons their defense has been struggling since Romo's been out, they've been on the field the whole time because their offense can't sustain any drives or get first down.
Let's not forget, too, that Jason Witten has a rib injury. He may or may not play. It sounds like he will likely play, but Witten is as important to Tony Romo as Tony Romo is to the entire offense. Without Witten in the lineup, Tony Romo is not going to feel as comfortable. So it's important for Witten to be on the field. But looking forward, guys, throughout the rest of this season, the Cowboys need to get hot. They can do that only with Romo in the lineup. And looking into next season, with this offense and the offensive line and all these pieces in place and locked down under contracts, this club could put up outstanding numbers next year. All these players are awesome options for the
And the
future.
defense has a lot of room to grow, so they could improve all around the board. Well, it's going to be an interesting divisional matchup that Romo gets to start off in. I personally really like Washington Redskins, and I think they're going to be good. They're going to be really tough to beat at home, but Clint Portis might not play in this game. So
Say what?
Fantasy owners might need to take special note here, because the guy who's been pretty much the running back story of the season might not be there. They're going to need him badly. Guys, is Washington's passing offense enough to beat Dallas? Or what do you think? Here's your chance to say who's going to win in this game. Zach, let's start with you.
Well, actually, I think the last thing I read, it sounds more and more likely that he's not going to play. But they did get some good news that Liddell Betts is back. He's been out the last 3 weeks. And Jim Zorn said he practiced all day today, and he's going to go along with him being the starter. And then Sean Alexander, they brought in a few weeks ago. He'll also get some of those carries too. But, I mean, losing to Clinton Portis, you can't really make up for player of his caliber, which is, Liddell Betts and Sean Alexander. So, a lot more of the game's going to rely on Jason Campbell and the passing game. And, the Cowboy defense has been struggling as of recently. Their secondary is hurt. And Jason Campbell has the opportunity here to come out and make a lot of plays using his arm and keep the scoring close in this game. So I expect him to have a very good game.
Santana Moss averaging 15.3 yards per reception on the season. He's a boom or bust type player. His big games he's usually huge in, and his other games he's very, very average. I think he's going to have a really big day here. Dallas's secondary, as Zach mentioned, is a little bit banged up, so you can slide him into your starting lineup. But, for my money, as far as predicting a winner here, I think Dallas gets it going because there's no Clinton Portis. And to the fantasy junkies out there that watch the show on a regular basis, I told you 2 weeks ago to trade high on Portis. If you listened, you avoided his bye week, and now you're going to avoid this week where he's sitting out. Clinton Portis, you should have traded high. Trust me.
All right.
So, regardless, it's going to be a fantastic divisional matchup. We've seen these two teams get out of hand at times, and I got the feeling that this one might be one of those 43 to 45. Take the over, you bettors. It's going to be interesting.
Sunday night, too.
Sunday night.
A lot of fun.
Big stars.
Primetime matchup. Another primetime matchup, this time in the AFC, another divisional matchup. It's somewhat rivalry weekend here in the NFL this weekend. It's been very interesting so far. Tennessee at Jacksonville. It's going to be a good game. Jacksonville unloading on Detroit, taking out all of their angst. Now they face undefeated Tennessee. Jesse, don't you think that the 9-0 Titans have enough stones to throw to beat the Jags here?
Well, at the beginning of the season, Jeff, I predicted that Indy would not win this division, and the team I picked to win the division was the Jags. Now, I got the second half of that prediction wrong. It's the Titans who are going to win this division, and I completely concur with what you're saying. I mean, the Titans are on a roll right now. They win all the games. Last week they played the Bears. That's a tough matchup, especially on the road in Soldier Field. The Bears, I think, are a better team at this point than the Jags. So conservative game plan. You're going to start Lindell White and Chris Johnson. Bo Scaife is startable as well. Look for the Titans to win in a tight one, man. They make the plays when they have to. And Kerry Collins, what can you say, man? The guy is a good quarterback.
He just gets it done.
Yeah,
and they're doing it with class and style. In every single matchup, they find different, new, and interesting ways to win. This is a divisional game, so I think it's going to have to be another outside-of-the-box type of approach. What do you think for fantasy-wise as far as Jacksonville goes? Can you go with any mojo at all? Any Matt Jones?
This game could be really tricky because the Titans' defense is playing outstanding, and I know you rolled them last week against playing Detroit. Well, the Titans are going to find out really quick that Tennessee's not Detroit. So, they could be in line for some pretty tough games. I think, like a lot of these defenses that are really stout against the run, it's going to rely on the passing game. David Garrard's arm. Matt Jones, you could probably roll with him. He's going to be one of the top targets. I know it's Garrard's favorite target. He'll probably throw him at least 10 times in the game. How many of those balls is he going to catch? I don't know exactly, but it's going to be tough to roll Jones Drew. He's not going to have a solid game. So you might want to try and avoid the Jaguars as much as possible. And if you're really desperate, maybe Matt Jones.
Yep. Definitely do not expect the 3-touchdown performance that you got last week out of Maurice Jones-Drew. It's going to be probably a little bit of a low-scoring game, in my opinion. One game that won't be a low-scoring game, back to the NFC East, or the NFC West, St. Louis at San Francisco. It's going to be a high-scoring affair, in my opinion. Jesse, why don't you start again? St. Louis, San Francisco. What do you like as far as points goes here?
I agree with you, Jeff. Two bad teams getting together. A lot of times the score can just go pinball style because both teams quit playing defense. And, St. Louis quit playing defense in week 2. So I think I was very pleasantly surprised in the Monday Nighter how well the San Francisco 49ers played. I really thought that they were going to get blasted in that game by the Cardinals, but they hung in there, and we're starting to see that some of these players are at least buying into Mike Singletary and what he's preaching. Frank Gore came up just short on that goal line. The last play call of the game, very questionable, so they lose in a heartbreaker, but I do like their offense. Still with Mike Martz as the offensive coordinator, they were throwing it around. Sean Hill looked okay. I think those guys are going to produce some fantasy points. I'm not as down on the Niners as I thought I would be after seeing how well they played on Monday night. They looked good, man. They looked good, surprisingly.
Yeah, it was very interesting. One team that looked fairly good for a couple weeks was St. Louis, and then they come into this matchup on a down note. First of all, Zach, I know Mark Bulger benched last week. Can you talk a little bit about why you think that happened? Is he just that bad? What's the deal?
They were down 40-0 at halftime.
At halftime.
At halftime.
But that's not Mark Bulger's fault necessarily.
It's a team effort, but I'm sure Haskell was just trying to get something going.
Sure.
In the second half, and they did. They got a field goal. So.
And remember when
they were able to
Mission
score.
accomplished.
remember when the Brain Wizards in St. Louis said, Kurt Warner sucks now. We got to hand the reins to Mark Bulger. Don't you bet right now they're going.
They wished it.
God, why'd we do that?
Right.
I think it's a whole team effort. That team's in shambles. Their defense is pathetic. They have no offense. I mean, Steven Jackson's been out for 3 weeks. He's not going to play again this week, it sounds like. And he's pretty much the engine that makes that offense run.
What's your take on Donnie Avery here this week?
On Donnie Avery, I mean, somebody's got to catch the balls.
Matchup, right?
Yeah, and Torrey Holt's been transparent all year, and Donnie Avery's quickly becoming the number one target in that offense. So if anything, especially if you got a PPR league, I mean, he might be pretty decent play, catching 5-6 balls probably. He may or may not score. And as much as you think it could be a high-score game, it could also be a 6-3 game with the inept offenses on these teams.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough call.
I think the team that scores high points here is San Francisco.
If anybody does. And Frank Gore could have a very nice game.
I like them to win this game. Here's one last thing I'd like to touch about on this matchup is Vernon Davis. He's been pretty bad up till this point. He had a great touchdown grab in their most recent game. It's coming off some real serious grizzle where he was called out on the field in the middle of play by Mike Singletary, sent to the locker room. Basically, you can't be sent to the doghouse more in front of the entire world than the way Vernon Davis did. Well, it seems like maybe he's come out and put forth a stronger effort. That grab in the end zone was fantastic. His talent is there. Is there any chance, guys, that Vernon Davis starts to make the turnaround now like he's been broken and now he's going to be built back up by this Hall of Fame type coach? What do you think, Jesse?
Well, I was fat for a really long time.
Sure.
And at one point in time, I told myself over and over and over again, like, I'm not going to eat like that anymore. I'm going to. And I finally got to that one point where I stepped on the scale and I said, oh my God, I weigh 270 pounds. I can't be this fat anymore.
You weighed 270?
Yeah, man, it was bad. I mean, I had the Dickie-Doo big time, belly sticking out farther than the Dickie-Doo.
Show the fans where it's gone.
I've now trimmed down, man. I've lost 40 pounds. So I hit that low point. I don't know if Vernon Davis is there yet, but there is that possibility. Sometimes you go through great adversity to come back. He caught a nice touchdown last week, and, he came within inches of catching a second one. So I wouldn't start him in my fantasy leagues. That said, he's an idiot. But
he's an idiot.
It could be. It could be.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely keeping our eye on him. Did you have something?
I was just gonna say. I mean, I would hold back on him until he starts getting a few more targets in the game. I mean, he's only getting thrown to 2-3 times, and he makes good plays on occasion, but he's just not, a focal point of their offense at this point.
They need to find some positivity in the passing game, and that's where I think that this kid could turn in some better stat lines in the next couple of weeks. So we're keeping our eye on him. Not saying anything about starting him yet, but he is a special talent, so watch him. And they drafted him number 6 overall.
Right.
So one bone to pick I have, Jesse, is you are still fat, bro. PHAT, just like this next matchup, Chicago at Green Bay.
Nice segue.
Jesse, one of my the best fantasy minds I know. Wasn't it awesome to see Green Bay go down last week?
It was fantastic. I mean, as a Vikings fan, I loved it. I know you loved it.
I loved
Zach, you
it.
had to love it, man. We took Green Bay out.
Right. And I picked the Vikings. I know you guys picked the Packers to win that game, but
Man, don't ever speak that again on
Why
this
would you
set,
pick 'em?
or you will be banished over to
I'm a true fan.
Channel 2, public
True
radio,
fan.
real public. No, but it's going to be a great game because they play the Bears. The Packers have had a pretty bad track record against the Bears ever since Lovie Smith came into town. And both these teams now, the Pack, second place behind the first place Vikings and the first place Chicago Bears. So one of these teams is going to come away. If Green Bay wins, they climb back into first place in at least a tie.
Unless we win.
Right, unless we win. And thank you. And if the Bears win, then they maintain their first place status. So a game of the ages, a big-time rivalry. Jesse, what do you like as far as the Bears go? You like Matt Forte here in this matchup?
Well, Matt Forte has proven himself. He's a week-in, week-out starter. He not only runs the ball effectively on the ground, but he's able to catch the ball really well, too. Just like we said at the beginning of the year, Matt Forte would be a fantasy force. He is a fantasy force. The team is better around him. It'll be interesting to see if Kyle Orton plays in this game, because if Kyle Orton plays, the Bears are going to be really hard to beat. I mean, Orton spreads the ball around, makes just enough plays to win, and could potentially be playable, although Green Bay's secondary is one of the best in the league, very opportunistic. And I look for this game to be a very hard-fought game. But, last week I rooted, obviously, against the Packers. This week I'm pulling for them, man. I'd love to see them take out the Bears.
Yeah, I know you got to pull for the Pack just a little bit here because we definitely want to see the purple in first place. Zach, I know that you've got Matt Forte on one of your best fantasy football teams. The question I have for you is, as a rookie, do you think there's much of a chance of a rookie wall here? This is the rookie with most likely the most carries so far this season. What do you think about that rookie wall? Happens usually around week 11. Could be a little bit suspect. What do you think?
It could be, but he's like Jesse said, he's so involved in the pass game that even if he's not running for 70, 80, 90 yards a game, he's still getting his 4 or 5 catches, catching 40, 50 yards passing. So he's always going to get you those extra points, and especially if you play in a PPR league where he's going to get you. I mean, if you get 4 or 5 catches, he's going to get you those extra points. So even if he's not running for big yards, he's getting yards as a whole. So he still is
and Kevin Jones isn't going to steal any carries from him. They're going to give Forte the ball. So yeah, that's definitely a good play. Now on the flip side for Green Bay, Ryan Grant, I don't know, man. It's tough to roll.
He hasn't done
Grant,
much, and I'll tell you what, the passing game from Green Bay looked awful last week against an awesome Minnesota Vikings defense.
And Jared Allen.
And don't you think that the Bears are going to try to get that pass rush going here again? We kind of showed the whole league a blueprint of how you can beat this team, get Aaron Rodgers on his back early and often, just like we did. And I think that the Bears are going to try to do the same exact thing. But what about Greg Jennings in the passing game here? He was shut down by our team last week. Is he going to get going back to what we expected him, Zach?
Well, if the Packers are going to win this game, he's going to have to because they're going to, Ryan Grant's going to struggle to run in this game. And Aaron Rodgers is going to have to get back on track and start hitting Greg Jennings, a down driver, downfield to get some big chunks of yards and wear down that Bear defense. And the Bears secondary, I mean, they've been average all year. I know they're in the bottom quarter of the league in pass defense. So if there's a way to beat the Bears, it's through the air. And Aaron Rodgers is capable of doing that with his targets. So.
Yep. Really quick before we end, Jesse, your winner in this game.
I'm going to go ahead and pick the Bears. I think they're just a better team. The Packers kind of have that feel of a team that's going to be good, but maybe it's just not this season. They lost last week in a very close game. I think they'll lose here in a very close game too.
Zach?
I'll take the Packers at home.
Packers at home.
Packers at home.
It's going to be interesting. I think that the Packers will win as well and cause a myriad of issues that will surround themselves all around the Vikings being in first place.
Now we got to do is win.
Well, that's all the show we have for you this week. Good luck in your matchups tomorrow. I know we're going to be right in the pine right there with you watching every single snap in the NFL.
Check out the Fat Chat.
Make sure to check out the Fat Chat. Come on to testosteronesports.com right when this show is over. For Jesse and Zach, I'm Jeff. And make sure to always check out our show because if you want to win,
you must tune in
to Testosterone Fantasy Sports.
Yeah!